The 2000s remind us of the awesomeness of that era that was truly a fantastic time. It was also the time when our day's plan revolved around the telecast of our favorite comedy shows. In those days, we took our TV way too seriously, and maybe that's why content back then was well thought out and fulfilling. There are so many of our favorite comedy shows from the glory days that are timeless and insanely hilarious. Welcome to Binge TV, and here are the top 10 best comedy shows of the 2000s. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and to turn on notifications for more videos like this one. Without further ado, let's begin! 10th place, Flight of Conchords. Flight of Conchords aired for 2 short seasons in 2007 and 2009 on HBO. The show was the Herculean creative output of Janine Clement and Brett McKenzie. The pair's uncompromising creative involvement in such a finite product means that we got nothing but the good stuff. The story was one of 2 hapless, naive Kiwi musicians and their even more hapless and naive manager looking for love and success in New York City. The show is a vehicle for the music, and each episode features at least 2 original and astoundingly inventive and funny songs. Brett and Janine's alter egos are equal parts funny and pathetic, at once too cool and too polite for their own good. The exuberance of the musical numbers is a lovely juxtaposition to their usual stiffness, but even better is the work of the supporting characters, Mel's bug-eyed intensity, Dave's shockingly profane bravado, and of course Murray's unflagging and supremely ill-advised optimism, all play beautifully off the band, their foibles both complimenting and complemented by the pair's deadpan niceness. 9th place, Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb Your Enthusiasm is a comedy TV institution, a full 20 years after its first debut on HBO. Larry David's creation had a bigger influence over modern television than the 90s sitcom. Part of its success comes from the fantastic ensemble cast that David has amassed over the years. Curb Your Enthusiasm has taken everyday consumerist dread to operatic levels. Curb is largely a rich man's comedy. It's a fantasy retirement diary of walking the earth in loose-fitting clothes and comfortable shoes, owing nothing to everyone, and raising your voice in protest should anyone object. 8th place, Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley has been nominated for the Outstanding Comedy Series for the past 5 seasons. Most years have also included writing, directing, and acting nominations as well. Each season's finale has been responsible for some of the most heart-pounding plot twists in television. Silicon Valley has executed all of these twists and all of these gut-wrenching examinations of power while never once forgetting to be funny or, most surprisingly, accurate. Every VR, VC, and coding joke has a real-life connection. For years now, Silicon Valley has fearlessly and hilariously spoken truth to the most terrifying source of power in our modern world, something it deftly and angrily continues to do in Season 6. 7th place, Parks and Recreation. Parks and Recreation is a hilarious show that is filmed like a documentary. It gives you a warm smile before you burst into laughter. The show has a very talented cast. Amy Poehler lights up the screen every time she's in view. Rashida Jones has great on-screen chemistry with the cast. This show is incredibly lucky to have Aziz Ansari before he becomes a worldwide phenomenon. Nick Offerman played his role as the motivated slacker and libertarian boss. Parks and Recreation is an amusing show that wonderfully stands on its own. 6th place, Catastrophe. Rob, an American advertising account executive, finished his business trip, bid farewell to Sharon, who was a schoolteacher, and flew home to Boston. A month later, Sharon called Rob and told him that she was pregnant. He returned to London and suggested with a combination of optimism and dread that he and Sharon ought to give parenting a whirl, seeing as how they were both 40-ish. Sharon agreed, and they forged impulsively ahead, building a family through love and devotion, but also out of a shared, highly sharpened cynicism towards the rest of the world. Of all the love stories that peak TV has thrown at us in the modern era, Catastrophe was usually the one that felt the most genuine. Replete with the bloaty, leaky details of midlife intimacy, it's for viewers who feel exhausted by the demands of prestige dramas and the preciousness of hipper millennial-focused comedies. 5th place, The Office. The Office did what many could not. It actually adapted a successful British sitcom for Americans and didn't die swiftly. This iteration surpassed its predecessor in longevity and may be considered the better of the two, making a voice for itself and establishing the mockumentary sitcom. The Office allowed us to escape into a place where the biggest stakes were bittersweet laughter, but mostly it combined hilarity and heart in a way that felt honest. 4th place, VEEP. Even before the American political system exploded into a fiery ball, VEEP was a cathartic outlet for our frustrations with Washington, D.C. Scottish creator Armando Iannucci conveyed such a penetrating outsider's perspective, one would think he'd worked in the White House himself. and the cast remains addictively game to lambast the greedy array of power-hungry politicians. When Anucci left after season 4, many expected VEEP to take a step back. But the cast and crew under new showrunner David Mandel redoubled their efforts just in time for when they were most needed. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is powerful enough to keep us laughing as the world burns. Third place, Arrested Development. The wildly dysfunctional Bluth family was once at the height of real estate development in Orange County, California. But when the family business went down, they're suddenly found penniless with their assets frozen. Their luxury vehicles are replaced with a reminder of the family's former wealth. The patriarch of the family is George Bluth, who is in prison now. His wife Lucille and daughter Lindsay are spoiled socialites who can't handle getting kicked out of family restaurants. His son Buster lives at home. The series follows the only sane member of the family, Michael Bluth, as he tries to keep his family and business from collapsing after his father is sent to prison for embezzling money. Second place, The Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory, which ran for 12 seasons on CBS, follows scientists and good friends Leonard, Sheldon, Howard, and Raj, and the much-needed evolution their social lives undergo when they meet a beautiful waitress named Penny. Their romantic lives change quite a bit too, leading to the marriages of Howard and Bernadette, Penny and Leonard, and Sheldon and Amy. It proved to be an endearing exercise in what happens when brains meets beauty, but also with braids, of course. All of the 5 seasons have the most intellectually stimulating and subtle humor. If you haven't watched The Big Bang Theory, it's time you should now. First place, Friends. Friends is one of the best comedies of its era, a mega hit that nonetheless possessed warm, funny, relatable characters and a surprisingly soapy storytelling style. It spawned hairstyles, catchphrases, and Ross and Rachel, perhaps the definitive relationship of the 90s. Friends is one of those TV shows that has become strangely timeless due to its very obvious 90s and early 2000s trappings. All 6 cast members were ridiculously attractive and funny to boot. The show ran from 1994 to 2004, but it's long been a staple in local and cable syndication. And when it arrived on Netflix in 2015, it found a whole new generation of fans, for whom the adventures of the 6 attractive New Yorkers, who could afford massive apartments while rarely seeming to work all that hard, took on an even greater air of aspirational fantasy than the show had from the start. So, what are your thoughts on these comedy shows? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, make sure to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time for more.